Welcome to IT Labs Ask Me Anything sessions, a session of Ask Me Anything sessions from IT Labs, titled The 5 Dimensions of Leadership, with a call to action to everyone being a leader. What I would like to do in this talk is to change some perspectives. Better still, create some new ones that will free up some dormant potential in your teams, organizations, communities, and even your families. That's right. So we want to release that dormant potential in these organizations and in these kind of teams, and also the potential in you. So this one goes quite deep, I feel. So why do we want to change perspectives? Why am I talking about perspectives? Well, perspectives on many things in life change the way we approach them. And that is what I intend to do here on the topic of leadership, for the greater good and for the greater you. Okay, this is about you as well. When we see it, leadership, differently and articulate with a new, we articulate it with a new perspective, we enable the art of leadership in new ways. That is exactly what we hope to do in this Ask Me Anything session. So as you listen, make notes of those questions as they pop up in your mind. Line up those questions in the Q&A tool at the bottom of the screen. I don't know if I'm pointing in the right direction here, but there's a Q&A tool in there. Queue up your questions as they come up, and we'll use this as a placeholder to bring them into the space later on. I'm hoping to be speaking for around 20 to 30 minutes, hopefully 20 minutes. I hope to make this interesting and engaging. And at the end, we'll enter the Ask Me Anything arena, and you can let me have the questions. You can throw the questions at me and I'll answer them as best as I can. I will ask people maybe at times to unmute and ask the questions directly. So if you don't want to do that, it's okay. It's absolutely cool. I'll read the question out for you. So remember to contemplate and add those questions to the Q&A tool. Right. But first, before we go forward, I want to give some credit. It's always good to give credit to where the source of information I'm presenting is coming from. The organization, the Co-active Training Institute, is not the sole creator of what I'm going to present here, but they are a great institution, and I'm really appreciative of their training and the support they've offered as I've kind of developed the skills that I'm going to present. Much of the ideas that are presented here are also seeded from the book that I'm showing here, the Co-active Leadership, and with my own experience added to the blend of information that I present. So, you know, it's a great book. I really enjoyed reading it, and I refer to it often. Now, some of you might be asking, what the hell is co-active? You know, it's a term that you sometimes hear bandied around in the kind of coaching industry and people that have coaches. So I'm going to try to explain what co-active means, because I think it's relevant to this talk. Co-active means simply being in action together, okay? Or being together in action. The co represents the relational and receptive aspects of our world, and the active follows and represents the action-orientated aspects. So we've got relationship, and we've got getting on with stuff, doing stuff, being collaborative, trusting, leaning into each other, co-creating results, creating something that's more than the sum of its parts. And this is the coaching style, co-active coaching style, that I am trained in and conducted countless hours of coaching using it. I'm a really big fan of it, and it aligns to the heart of many more recent shifts in working, such as agile and more nimble collaborative ways of working that we've got out there in the industry. So I'm a big fan. So co-active. So first, an introduction to who I am. Okay, who the hell is TC? I am IT Labs people development coach and strategist, and also I do business agility transformation. I'm a business agility transformation lead. I'm a certified professional co-active coach, many hours of coaching, lots of training. I'm an active member of the Business Agility Institute, and I'm currently setting up the UK chapter here in London. And I'm also an avid ex-boxer. I don't know if you've got any gamers out there, but I'm an avid ex-boxer. I also run, or at least I try to keep running, and I'm a father of a wonderful teenager that is testing her limits, and because she's a teenager, testing my limits too. So that's a little bit about me. So as Simon Sinek said in his very famous and impactful TED talk, you know, why? Why are we doing this talk? So let's get clear on the why. The why creates the context and the launch pad for our learning and subsequent actions going forward. Okay, it's really clear that we get clear on the why, and that's what we're going to do here. So the first why is it's around business agility, and it's also about what's good for you. And I'll explain that very shortly. So why business agility? In this VUCA world we live in, we need to be agile in the truest sense. VUCA, if you don't already know, stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And when I say agile, I mean what it says on the tin: learning, adapting, pivoting. So this is a lovely quote from Sally Alata and Evan Laybourne, who are pillars in the business agility community. Business agility is the ability to adapt to change, learn and pivot, deliver at speed, and thrive in a competitive market. Because gone are the days when big eats small. Today, fast is eating slow. The ability to learn and deliver faster than the competitors may be the only sustainable competitive advantage. We have to have organizations that are nimble and flexible like this. So I'll put that little label in there to remind myself to talk about something I think is really important. And this segues into a statement that you're probably asking: what's in it for me? What's in it for you? This is the why. We need to set ourselves up for success, and to create that nimbleness that's described in the quote here. You need to raise your voice, raise your listening, and raise your game. And the 5 dimensions of leadership, if you choose to engage them, will bring about you being a desired and highly valued, sought after team member. Okay, so the 5 dimensions of leadership put you in the game at a very competitive edge. So keep asking that question: what's in it for me? And find the value for your own betterment through the slides that I present to you. The second why is we need to do some bleeding. So now don't get alarmed, okay? It's not about bloodletting. We need to bleed leadership into organizations and into more people. I would dare say that every single person in an organization needs to engage in their own form of leadership. We need more eyes on the ball. And I think this is really important, to bleed leadership into the organization, the second why. And the third why is a very personal why. For me, it aligns with my passion for creating sustainable organizations that are a win-win-win-win across the board. A win for the people, a win for the end customer, a win for the leadership, a win for the stakeholders and partners, and of course, a win for the actual organization as a whole. And not forgetting you, it's a win for you as well. We need to step up our evolution of the ways in which we work, personally and collectively. Agile and other methodologies are making great strides in the industry and in the market. So we need to unleash the dormant potential in all our organizations, and unleash the dormant potential in you as well. And for me right now, leadership is the key, and getting that leadership into everyone is really important, hence this talk. So, as mentioned in the intro, perspectives are important. Perspectives on many things in life change the way we approach them. So that's what we're going to do in this talk. We're going to really drive that home. So let's use the analogy of art to help us and have a little bit of fun at the same time, okay? So we're going to use art to create the importance of why perspectives are important. So some art is only designed to be presented with a single perspective. Now look at this piece of art here by Bernard Prass, and appropriately named Dali. The composite creates an interesting and engaging image to the eye of the beholder from a particular perspective. Seems to work and function well. Now, however, move from the intended field of view, and in this case, a very specific one, it goes all a bit skew with, or as we would say in London Cockney slang, it all goes peak tongue, it goes wrong. The point here is a single perspective approach to things doesn't always work, or designing things in such a way that they can only be used in a very, very narrow scope makes them next to impossible to use in a chaotic VUCA world, that VUCA again. And leadership is very much what I feel is the case here. Some leadership perspectives don't help. And to me, I don't feel useful in these modern times. We live in different times. So rather than the industrial age thinking approach that we had around leadership, we need a thinking age approach to leadership. So to me, this single perspective, one-dimensional approach is very much top-down type leadership, you know, that very hierarchical leadership. In a very narrow scope, it kind of works, but outside of that, it goes all kind of wrong. I hope that's clear. Great piece of art, by the way. I'd love to go and see this. So let's take a multiple perspectives approach to help us. Now, here is an example. Maybe some of you can see where I'm going with this. And I like to have some fun, so let's have some fun. This is a wonderful sculpture by Michelangelo of the biblical figure David, a masterpiece of Renaissance art. From this perspective, you get a particular feeling, maybe even a particular story fires up in your mind's eye. Another perspective, more things into view. The perspective opens up a new narrative, a new story, a new feeling. Hey, the perspective from behind. You get to see the arse end of things, and maybe it tells you a different story and a different way of thinking. And another perspective. I like to call this the in-your-face perspective. Now, I hope nobody's being offended by this. I'm trying to have a bit of a laugh and make a point. But what I want to do is drill home the point that perspectives on topics are important. They add value, insights, and nuanced approaches to what we're doing. So just like art, leadership should not be seen from one perspective. Otherwise, it gets dysfunctional, it becomes a bit odd and unhelpful, and it rarely creates the string of wins that I described earlier. So what I want to do in this Ask Me Anything session is crack open these new perspectives on leadership. Stop looking at things in one way, okay? What I want to present maybe already fits your existing wisdom. I don't know, maybe you've heard of this stuff before. There is nothing new here. I'm simply putting names to some concepts that may already be at play. You may just not be naming it. But I think by naming it and having a common language around it in our organizations, we create a better culture and a narrative in our business teams and families even. After all, language defines our culture. And the great thing is, we can use whatever's already in our organizations. We don't need to necessarily add anything new or take anything away. We just need to be brave and see things differently, okay? So the point here is that we can use what we've already got. Ta-da! Enter the 5 dimensions of leadership. 5 different perspectives that we can take. So here they are, 5 ways to see leadership. Leadership is not a single role. There are different perspectives. Everyone's a leader, absolutely everyone, and everyone should be a leader. We're going to drill down deeper into all of these. So start collecting your questions and queries so we can deepen some learning later for you and forward some actions that you can take going forward, okay? So start collecting those questions. So here we go, the 5 dimensions of leadership. We start off with the leader up front. This is the classical leader on stage, presenting, pointing in the direction that we need to go, creating the vision and inspiring others and aligning people to common goals. Some people think of this as the only kind of leader there is. That's that single perspective. Let's drop this limiting view. There are many other types of leadership. So in the 5 dimensions of leadership, this leader is about connection and direction. A great leader up front in this model knows they need others. It's not about them. Something really important I want to say here. Leaders up front are not trapped by ego. and their identity is not defined by their role or title, okay? Ego needs to be kicked out of the park here. Role and title is not important. Instead, leaders up front know when to sit back and make room for other people's creativity and talent. I have seen this done beautifully within IT Labs. So we need to all align to this kind of way of thinking. So going to the slides, the leader up front leads groups beyond what is defined by past successes. Okay, it's about what we're doing going forward. They demonstrate the vision and enroll other people in that vision. And the leader up front champions and encourages innovation into the space. The leader up front is almost like a gravity for innovation. People are attracted to that space to innovate and offer ideas. This is the leader up front. Then there is the leader behind. These people are really important. I can't stress that enough. They can be described by the characteristics such as serving and supporting. I quote, rather than trying to look good or get ahead, leaders behind focus on providing whatever is needed. They get stuff done. They are the backbone of any organization. And going to the slides, courageously challenging others. That's what the leader behind does. They challenge others to get work done. They evoke leadership in others by listening deeply and championing them and acknowledging them when they get work done. The leader behind gets stuff done. And interestingly, my pattern of leadership is leading from the front initially and then dropping back to this dimension and encouraging others to take the front seat. It's just a pattern that I've developed over the years. So this is the leader behind, very important. The leader beside. Now think of this like your right-hand man or woman. The leader beside interchanges with the leader up front, knowing when to step forward and knowing when to step back. They are co-creating, that beautiful co-word again. There is a lot of trust and transparency here, leaning in, as I like to call it. Think of an A-frame, two beams fully leaning into each other, challenging for the sake of the best outcomes. And it can get uncomfortable sometimes, but it's about the outcomes. Characteristics of this leader are creating synergy and fully leaning in. As per the slide, overcoming competing priorities by creating alignment, fostering an environment of collaboration and connection, designing a conscious and effective professional relationship. Wow, that's a sentence. Yeah, it's about getting intimate with your kind of fellow leader so that you can really speak your mind and say what's needed. They are standing beside the leader in front and championing what needs to be done. And the other leader is the leader in the field, the leader to the left. Sounds kind of odd, right? But this leader is a feedback loop into the system. The characteristics of this leader is sensing and speaking without attachment. I like to look at this leader through the systems lens, systems thinking lens. Now, all people systems, that includes organizations, teams, communities, and even families, are a system. Organizations as a whole, they're a financial and operational and social system. And what do all healthy systems have? They have healthy feedback loops. Feedback loops that are fully heard, fully considered, and acted on. The leader in the field is noticing and feeding the system with the information it needs. These are sometimes the quiet ones, the quiet people that sit there watching and observing. And if the space is safe for them and invites them, they provide that invaluable information. You may recognize these people right now, people that are in your team, or even in yourself, that fit this bill. So this is the leader in the field. Now, not forgetting the leader within. This is the heart of everything, the most important leader of all. This leader within lies at the center of it all. It's you, your foundation, the place of awareness, reflection, and choice. It's your home base. Often we end up taking on the role of other dimensions of leadership and forget who we really are. We identify ourselves with the role. We identify with the role and neglect our well-being and our wisdom of our true selves. How this leader shows up creates a shadow and light on the other dimensions of leadership. The characteristics that describe this leader in you are self-acceptance and self-authority. This, for me, is the realm of the personal development, and turning that intellectual learning, personal development learning, into an experiential one and real life action. Okay, we all read personal development books. I know a lot of us do here, but we need to turn it, to bring it to life. And this is all about the leader within. And this quote speaks really well to this leader within, this dimension of leadership. Be the change that you wish to see in the world, by Mr. Gandhi himself. So this is the leader within. So that concludes the slides I wanted to share. I encourage you to open up your perspectives on leadership. See leadership in its different forms. These are just a few to get started. It's a great model. It's a really nice model to get conversations going and place people and people to place themselves within the organizational system that resonates with them. You've probably got some ideas already by looking at these 5 dimensions. And so you can then enter these 5 dimensions and fully join the game of the organization with more eyes on the ball, more action in the direction of scoring the goals that the organization needs, more collaboration and creativity to bring the game to life. And a game brought to life is a fun game, right? So the 5 dimensions of leadership: being the leader up front, the leader behind, the leader beside, the leader in the field, and of course, the leader you, the leader within. All the perspectives, dimensions are overlapping and coming together to create something more than the sum of their parts. And this is all possible without needing to add anything new or remove anything from your organization. You're working with what you have. And for your current conventional leaders that are already leaders out there, or the leaders up front, as we spoke of earlier, bleed that leadership that you hold on to into the organization, to every corner and every person. See where people's strengths fit into these dimensions. And ultimately, we'll all live a little bit happier and make work a much more fun thing. So some of you might still be asking the question that I mentioned earlier: what's in it for me? Well, I can't speak for you. You'll have to engage in your leader. You'll have to engage in your leader within for that. Grab a hot beverage or a beer and meet your inner leader. Explore how these perspectives will make a difference to you. And hopefully it will matter to you that you make a difference to other people as well. Your teammates, your families, your community, and your current company you're working for. The one that pays you value, money, and invests in you. See what added value you can return. But I will share what it meant to me and many of the people I have coached. These 5 dimensions of leadership impacted our careers. It showed where we could fit. It acknowledged our strengths, and it showed us how we could play a bigger part in the organization. It personally invigorated my career. It made me feel like a more valued colleague. Find the leader perspective or leadership that works for you and become the leader. Be seen, be part of the system, be valued by having value. Top the value that you're already delivering by topping it up with leadership. And that concludes the talk on the 5 dimensions of leadership. So thank you for lending me your ear. So I would love for people to ask questions now. And if you're willing, I will unmute you to present that question to me, and I'll do my best to answer it. So do we have any questions? Oh, we got a hand up. There we go, Maya.
Hi, TC. Thank you for this lovely presentation. It's amazing piece of view on the leadership and the styles. But I wanted to ask, how does actually work this in practice?
Yes. So for me, it works in practice by just becoming brave and putting yourself forward. It's around not having assumptions of what you're supposed to do, a feeling that you're not a leader. Understand that you are a leader. You're leading in the space that you're in, and there's different ways in which you can bring that leadership forward, noticing what's happening in the field, presenting that to the team and having those conversations, maybe stepping up forward to champion something, a new idea or what have you. So for me, in practice, it's just about being brave and taking that leader within, knowing what you want to bring to the organization and the groups and the families that you're in, and stepping forward bravely. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Thank you for your question. Okay, so I'll just put your hand down there and mute. So here we go. Nikita, I think, was next. Hi, Nikita.
Hi.
There we go. Hi, Nikita.
Yeah, there we go. Hi, TC. Thank you for the insightful presentation on the 5 dimensions of leadership. My question is, do you help other organizations implement this?
Yes, absolutely. So IT Labs have got a wide kind of portfolio of customers or partners that we work with. And when we spot an opportunity to kind of share this kind of wisdom, we do that within our own teams to get the leadership kind of fired up. And we also present to our kind of clients to kind of introduce the idea. Because what you find here is that everybody's stuck with their own kind of perspectives, as the perspectives that I described here. And one of the things that we do when people are interested in this is to open that up. So we have sessions, we have workshops where we can get other people engaging in the different aspects of leadership out there. So yeah, the answer is yes.
And do you usually present your knowledge to the clients, as you said, or you see them struggling and then offer?
Well, sometimes so one of the things that we try to do is by presenting this to our own kind of people at IT Labs, we get leaders that then do speak what needs to be said. So we don't just kind of do the work. We're not turning it out. We're not delivering outputs. We're delivering outcomes. So our leaders that understand that there's different forms of leadership step up, and then they give that feedback, and that usually then triggers off a conversation, which then creates an enlightened conversation, which then brings about some form of action, some form of teaching, and maybe other forms of training as well. So yes, it comes from different directions, and hopefully people will be quite curious around this presentation once it's available on the internet as well.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you, Nikita. I've got some questions lining up here. I'll come back to people with their hands up. Oh, we got Jelena, who's put her hand up and asked a question. So here we go. Jelena, the space is yours.
Oh, thank you very much. And thank you for a great presentation. It's very useful. I wanted to ask, because you mentioned industrial age thinking and thinking age. What do you mean by that?
Yes. So if you kind of imagine back in the day when we had industrial age, when we had industry, I mean, think of the Industrial Revolution. There's lots of systems that were created to kind of create more efficient processes, and the way of working there was very top down. And the idea was just to make people work faster. People were told what they needed to do in part of a process, and the whole point was to improve the work that they did in that aspect of their work. But as many of us know here, we don't live in an industrial age anymore. In fact, much of our work is spent thinking, and therefore the thinking age is where we need to kind of shift our leadership and our ways of working too. I don't know if that explains the concept of these different ages of thinking to you. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you for your question, Jelena. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Are there any other leadership concepts that will work the same or better? So I think there's lots of different concepts. So this is just one way of looking at it. Remember the whole thing around different perspectives. Think of it like you're in a gallery and you've got an art piece. You've got the sculpture of David in front of you. You don't just stand looking at it one way. See, the different perspectives that add value to what you're seeing. Okay, so there are lots of different concepts, but the thing that I like to use is that when there's no cookie cutter, okay, you're not being asked to do X, Y, and Z. It's about you engaging your own creative mind, your own creative way of thinking, and bringing that to the arena. I think that's the really important thing here. So yeah, I think there are different forms, different concepts of leadership, and they all work really well. Okay, other questions here. I'm gonna bring, oh, it's a nice one. So what does VUCA stand for again? So this is a term that comes out of the military. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And in a military context, it kind of describes it perfectly. There's lots of things going on. Things are changing constantly. Plans only stand up for a very short amount of time. As soon as they hit the battlefield, things change. And the world that we live in now is basically an innovation storm. There is so much change going on. Old ways of thinking don't work. So the term VUCA has entered this kind of world of business and business agility to describe the complexity and craziness we live in. So yeah, VUCA is a great term, and it describes the world we live in, I believe. So hopefully VUCA was explained to you well enough there. Thank you. And we've got a question here. Sorry, I can't pronounce your name. I'll see if I can find you in the list of attendees. One second. No, can't see you in the list. So you've asked the question, can you please differentiate between leadership styles and management? Oh yeah, this is a good one. What are the different skill sets of the two? And is it easy to confuse them? I think there is a lot of confusion out there. It's a really good question, because again, this is around the language that we use. The language that we use defines the culture. So management to me is very much around telling people what needs to be done. And management has its place, don't get me wrong, okay? So management, it has its place within organizations and within groups, because sometimes it's just things that we need to do and it's very clear on what we need to do. Leadership is more around inspiring people and bringing people along with you, okay? It's using your voice, your being and your ideas to bring people along. So yeah, I think these do get confused quite a lot. I think in a thinking age, as you just described, we really need more leaders, okay? Management still has its place, but we still need leaders. And even in the scope of management, we still need leaders to step up and saying, there is a better way of doing this, or did you know this? And spotting the blind spots, so that the conversation is very colored within the organization, where the management can see where there are improvements. So yeah, I think the language around this is important, but I think there's a very distinct difference between leadership and management. And sometimes leaders go into management roles, you know, they step into management roles, and then they step back into a leadership role, so to speak, or maybe one of the 5 dimensions of leadership that we described. So I hope that answers your question. We've got another question. Oh, we've got some more questions coming up here. In fact, I've just spotted you. I'll unmute you now. Did that answer your question?
Hi, TC.
Hiya.
It's Maria. That was my question, actually.
Brilliant.
Yeah, the registration probably picked up the Cyrillic.
Yes, I do apologize. I'm still learning my Cyrillic.
Yeah, it's my first time using Zoom, so.
I see. Yeah.
It's all right. So I have thank you for your answer. It was, yeah, right on cue.
So just while you're on, do you feel that that you have a clear understanding of what leadership and management is?
Yeah. I just wanted for you to elaborate on that and see your view as well.
Yes, thank you.
In a nutshell, management is always telling people what to do,
yes,
like all the time, and leadership is like leading them through example. Yes. In a way, is that
yes, yeah. And again, as the 5 dimensions of leadership show, there are different perspectives on leadership. We can step into leading in very different ways.
So I have a subsequent kind of question, if I
sure.
may. So how does one know which leadership style best fits them, and in a way to unlock one's leadership potential in the right way? Should you do it like a personality test or something?
No, I think there's lots of ways you can do this, but I'm going to give you the really simple answer. And this kind of touches on the leader within, okay? So one of the things that we do is that as leaders, the leaders within, the true us, is that we have this thing that is called intuition. Okay, we have a feeling that something needs to be said. We have a feeling that something's not going quite right, and it's to listen to that. Okay, it's to listen to the leader within, and the leader within usually directs you where you need to step into, and it also requires you, being the leader within, to maybe be brave, to step forward, to be the leader up front. So listen to the wisdom that you feel inside you, because we are all incredibly smart people, okay? And sometimes the cultures that we worked in, and maybe even our families, have really kind of rubbed that intuition out of us, okay? It's not gone. It's just not maybe at play as much as we would like. Bring it back into the space. Speak to yourself, speak to others, what's needed. And usually you find where you need to kind of sit. So it's not so much around being, today I'm going to be the leader behind. It's around what feels right for the work that we need to do right now. Is getting stuff done the right thing? Therefore, I will lead from behind. We just need to get this done. I need to inspire other people to follow what the leader up front is saying. So you step into that leader to the beside, to the right, to encourage people. So use your intuition.
Yeah, that sums it up. It's easier for girls, if I may add, you kind of have this built-in intuition, practicing
Absolutely.
at home as a parent, taking the lead all the time, and also in the workplace.
Yes. So yeah, I mean, we've all got our intuition. So make it easy, make it fun times easier. Use your intuition, bring it into the space. Just be brave and put yourself forward, kind of thing. So thank you for your question.
You're welcome. Thank you for your answers, TC.
Cheers.
Cheers.
So I'll go to one of the questions in the Q&A. 11. I'm a junior engineer. Why does this matter to me? How does it apply to me? Right, really good question. It absolutely applies to you. So as a junior engineer, okay, you're an engineer. Let's just put the junior to one side. You are leading in your space. You're getting stuff done. And as a junior engineer, maybe you've got aspirations where you want to go in the organization, where you want to go in your career, where you want to contribute with your work. So this is when you bring your different types of leadership, where the perspective of leadership that really works for you into the space and really bring it to play. Maybe you're not as extrovert as I am, okay? Maybe you're more of an introvert, therefore be the leader in the field. Let people know what you're noticing, share your kind of ideas, spot things that other people aren't spotting, so there's lots of ways in which all people, including junior engineers, can step up. And I guarantee you this will accelerate your career, because you'll become invaluable. You become a team player. You'll become a voice in the team and in the organization. So do step into this kind of leadership style. And we've got another question here by Vladimir. Oh, no, just a thank you. So thank you, Vladimir. Thank you for your thank you. Any other questions? I wanted to know, here's a question from Eva. I wanted to know if there's any other companies that do this. If not, why don't they do this? So that's a really good question, Eva. Thank you for presenting that to me. I think there are organizations that do that. They don't name it. Now, there are some organizations that call themselves co-active leadership organizations fully. And I've spoken to these people. I've done a few interviews with people that work with them, and it's fantastic. It's a really organic way of running an organization. In some ways, it gets a lot more messy and a lot more kind of organic, more natural. But what you find is the outcomes are absolutely superb. There's more voices being spoken. There's lots more energy in the space. It's a lot more fun. People feel like they can speak. People say what they need to say. So I think there are organizations that do this. I can't name them for reasons that they don't want to be named. But I want to just point to IT Labs. I feel, even though the terminology isn't familiar to everybody, I think we do this within IT Labs. This is something that we encourage, the senior leadership encourages, the founders encourage this, and this is what we bring into the space. Hence one of the reasons why we're doing this talk. So I feel IT Labs is one of those companies and is developing this whole idea of different perspectives of leadership further. So hopefully that answers your question, Eva. Thank you. Okay, so I've got one final question here. So the question here, maybe this has been answered. You've answered my question, why women are better leaders than men. I think everybody's a good leader, you know. And I think one of the things that you did point out here, in fact, I realize now, this is Maria, is that women do tend to have an intuition, okay? I know Rebecca, my partner, has a great intuition. My daughter has a great intuition, and many of the leaders that we have in the organization, you know, they bring that kind of feminine quality of leadership to the space, and that has intuition in the space. So this actually touches on a very important topic. What we found previously in older companies in industrial age thinking was that the energy, the leadership in the organizations was very masculine, okay? It didn't always mean it was just a man doing it, but there was a very masculine energy brought into the space. And one of the things I learned in my leadership very, very early on, after a few incredibly spectacular disasters of leading, was to bring that feminine quality in, which includes intuition, includes caring, noticing, listening, seeing the bigger picture. Okay, so it's not, the feminine quality of leadership isn't about being a woman, okay? It's about bringing those qualities to the space. So I think that's a really interesting topic to bring in here, you know, bring those qualities in, you know, that feminine qualities of intuition. I think intuition is something that we don't bring into organizations on our own inner leadership enough. So thank you for that. Thank you for being on the talk. I hope it's been valuable to you. But remember, think about what's in it for you, okay? Forget about what's in it for the organization, you know, hold that lightly. Think about what's in it for you. I feel the 5 dimensions of leadership will really be a game changer if you engage them. Find where you fit, take your strength and fit it into the organization where it's needed, and shift between the different dimensions, okay? It doesn't mean you have to sit in one, move around and exercise what's needed for the organization. And I guarantee you, you will feel more fulfilled, you'll enjoy your work, and people will notice. So that's that. We haven't got any more questions. So I thank you all for joining this Ask Me Anything session from IT Labs. And I look forward to maybe speaking to you again in the future. Thank you very much.